if somebody has depression, anxiety, fear, frustration, all these kind of emotional situations, it could be generating from the gut. And if the gut is out of balance, you're not going to get the right information to the brain.
It's not so much that we're just dumping in a whole bunch of probiotics and seeing the benefits of that, which you may, but really helping the body to create the right environment for those bacteria to grow and for bad bacteria to not thrive.
People don't understand that we need fermented foods. All these microbiomes that we have, what does the fermented process do for that?
There's becoming a lot of understanding around the things like a lacto-fermentation, things like sauerkraut and kimchi, which are producing very beneficial gut bacteria.
Welcome to the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Porter. Please join us on our mission to better a billion brains. Enjoy the episode and remember to share it with your family and friends.
Hey, Brain Tap Nation, this is the Brain Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Patrick Porter. I have a very special guest with me. He has a very special product we're going to talk about for helping you to regain energy at the cellular level. And I'm going to let Jim Ladwig talk a little bit about it. But Jim, tell us a little bit about this product that you brought to the market, and you're out there changing lives. I know we heard about it from Hippocrates, and we're big believers in that kind of fasting and eating vegetarian diet to heal the cells. But then you added a kind of like kerosene to the fire. You got the mitochondria working again. So tell us a little bit about the product.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. I'm super stoked to share about this and get it to your audience. It's a very unique product, and I think one kind of caveat thing that we always run into is because our product is it's a nitrogen-fermented soybean. And so sometimes when people hear soybean, their alarm bells go off, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" But what we're doing, I assure you, is very, very different than the conventional soy, and we can talk about that later. But it's just such a cool product. I actually learned about it, the nitrogen fermentation and soy, when I went through my own health journey. I was diagnosed with colon cancer, and so I learned about it. I at the time was actually kind of anti-soy in a sense. And so it took a lot of research and diving into it for me to really kind of wrap my head around what was so different. And there's really a couple big takeaways. One, it's how we grow it. Well, really first it starts with the species that we grow, how we grow it, which is organic in a, volcanic ash soil, very, very, clean growing conditions. And then the real, magic that happens in the nitrogen fermentation, which actually is a reduced oxygen or zero oxygen. It preserves a lot of the delicate nutrients, the fermentation metabolites, the things that are broken down, the peptides and things like that, and then also converts these isoflavones like genistein and diazein into these extremely bioavailable forms, which are super important because kind of wrapped up in soy is a pretty powerful thing, but it's not super bioavailable in its original state. So again, it's a super strange product. I mean, a lot of people kind of look at it and like, oh, it's really weird. And but what the results that we're seeing with things like inflammation and oxidation and brain health and gut health and those it's fantastic. It really is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think what most people don't understand, this is a food, right? Your body is taking it in as a food, and tell us a little bit about how the food is taken, and then what's the action that's happening in the body.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a drink. It's an 8-ounce beverage. I say beverage. It's not like the refreshing kind of beverage. It's just drinkable. But it's like a that's about a little bit thicker. Kind of looks like chocolate milk, but you just drink it. And I have folks taking anywhere from a tablespoon or an ounce a day, all the way up to a full bottle a day, depending on the situation. And so the beauty of that fermentation process is it's really starting to assimilate the moment it touches your lips. I mean, as soon as you start drinking it, your body's able to utilize it. All those fermentation metabolites that are created during the process are just so easily absorbed. And originally, the onset or the crafting of this drink was for late stage cancer cachexia, which is that wasting syndrome in late stage cancer patients. And so having an already compromised immune system, a completely inflamed gut, not being able to, your body not, causing muscle protein synthesis and that wasting syndrome and losing lean muscle mass was a big hurdle to overcome. And so that's why this product was developed. And, what we saw was the reduced gut inflammation, increased, the bifidobacteria, the improvement of the gut microbiome, and then this systemic anti-inflammatory, which really helps to reduce the inflammation and all throughout, even neuroinflammation, which is really kind of a special thing that not a lot of things do.
Right. When you think about this product and how it works, a lot of people don't understand that we need fermented foods. So maybe let's go back to, why does our gut, when we talk about the gut brain and our brain between our ears and our heart brain, all these microbiomes that we have, what does the fermented process do for that?
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think we have a lot of, which is great. I think there's becoming a lot of understanding around the things like a lacto-fermentation, things like sauerkraut and kimchi, which are producing very beneficial gut bacteria. And by eating these foods, by consuming them, you're helping to, one, reestablish these bacteria in your gut, which have a myriad of benefits, and helping the microbiome in multiple places. The kind of difference, though, in what we're doing with the nitrogen fermentation versus that kind of lacto fermentation, one, it's still very beneficial for the gut, but it's really more in cultivating and creating the right environment. So it's not so much that we're just dumping in a whole bunch of probiotics and seeing the benefits of that, which you may, but really helping the body to create the right environment for those bacteria to grow and for bad bacteria to not thrive. And so by essentially, making the right terrain or adjusting the terrain internally, our fermentation process is really geared more towards the bioavailability of those nutrients, that kind of the pre and postbiotic, the things that are actually helping to get the gut really back in order, versus just dumping in a bunch of probiotics, which that's one method as well. And you do need the probiotic benefits, but really this is kind of supporting it in a completely different way, which is pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about how people are using it and what are they using it for. I know that, like, my wife is using it right now, and I'm using it because we want to bring down inflammation. My wife has a autoimmune something going on and a little bit of Addison's, and she's finding great value with it. I mean, she can't do the whole bottle because it kind of was too strong for her. So she's upping her dose as she can. But tell us a little bit about how people use this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I mentioned before, originally the major, kind of application, if you will, where it was seen clinically was in cancer. And so, I mean, we just all kinds, especially those that are estrogen driven, the breast and prostate, because of the phytoestrogen genistein. Very often misunderstood. It's not promoting estrogen. It's a selective estrogen receptor modulator. Actually, many times helps to reduce, and preferentially it binds to the beta receptor, which is really a very beneficial to the body. So it kind of sounds counterintuitive, but it's amazing how it works. And so for years, that's kind of where it lived, where people were taking a full bottle a day for the, either the side effects of chemotherapy or radiation, or just as a complement to, high nutrition for their therapy. But then what we started noticing, as it was being more studied, was the anti-inflammatory benefits, the immune modulation benefits. Again, you mentioned like an autoimmune disease. It's not just shooting the immune system to the moon through boosting the immune system. In a sense, it's modulating. And so what we're seeing is, all kinds of things, from people taking like an ounce a day or 2 ounces or 4 ounces a day, just depending on their situation, for things all the way from rheumatoid arthritis to general health, inflammation. I have athletes that take it. And then probably the most fascinating for your audience would be the PTSD study we did, which was pretty incredible. It was a treatment-resistant combat veterans taking the product to help with that hormone cascade, the neuroinflammation, the benefits, the kind of results that we're seeing were not just for brain health or the mental health of the PTSD, but also systemically seeing, reduced viral loads, reduced bacterial loads, the hormones, kind of the down regulation of inflammatory hormones and the upregulation of more protective. So it was pretty fascinating. And so it seems like all over the place. And just recently, I'm actually getting several reports from clinics that are using the product and practitioners on mold exposure. So it seems to be, we've not studied that, but it just seems to be used in a number of different ways because of how systemically it helps the body.
Yeah. And we're talking about Healan, spelled Haelan 951. Yep. So if somebody wants to go do some more research about this product, you have a lot of videos, of course, online talking about it. You've been interviewed before, but what do you recommend people do to get educated about this product?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, our website's probably pretty bland. It's pretty bland. We don't make a lot of health education on there about the product. That's just a great place to purchase it. But there are other websites out there. As you can do Google searches. There's Fermented Soy Research. .com. There's NFS, which is nitrogen-fermented soy, so nfsresearch.com. There's you can search PubMed for the Haelan 951, or another name we studied it under was FSWW08. So all easily referenced things you can find on PubMed or Science Direct, or other websites that do publications like that. But there's quite a bit of information out there. But then again, just come right back to Healan 951 to buy it. That's where it's sold. So
yeah, and a lot of people know about Hippocrates. They're cutting edge. Have been doing it for years. I guess probably over 30 years, helping people reverse what seems to be the unreversible. And they use this as one of their core products. So what have you seen happening down there?
Yeah, we've been working with Brian for, gosh, it seems probably about 15 years now, maybe. And he has been such a huge supporter in not only using the product, but also providing us with feedback in how he's using it. And so a lot of times he is, and seeing things like cancer and things like that. So it's definitely being used. They buy it by the pallet, so they get a lot shipped down there at once. And so, a lot of the protocols that he is doing are very complementary. So, vitamin C IVs and things like that are more, therapeutic, if you will. And so he's able to, and plus the nice thing also with his methodology is he's bringing in a lot of other things like nutrition and movement and all the things that your body needs to heal. So what we've seen is, honestly, unless it's like really extreme cases, you don't need as much. So some people are just doing half a bottle a day, and like 2 ounces in the morning, 2 ounces at night, and seeing some pretty fantastic stuff because the body's already in this healing mode with everything else that he's doing. So, quite a number of things. I go down there usually once a year and meet with them, and we talk about everything from, just weird gut issues to, they see a lot of different things. So they kind of bring it on in a lot of different ways. So,
yeah, a lot of people don't realize the gut can actually controls the production of neurotransmitters. So if somebody has depression, anxiety, fear, frustration, all these kind of emotional situations, it could be generating from the gut. And if the gut is out of balance, you're not going to get the right information to the brain. So when you think about gut health, just kind of give us the story about how you found that while we're eating the right foods, and a lot of ancient cultures make sure every meal has a fermented food.
Yeah.
If you look at the Koreans and people like that, they always have some kind of kimchi or something like that at every meal to help with digestion. So tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about how the ancient cultures used to do it and why you created this product so that we can deliver it to the house and they can do it this way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anybody, I have a lot of kids. And so anybody who's ever had a kid, you feed them the wrong thing. Sometimes they're all over the place. So you can definitely tell that foods really do affect the brain. And it seems to be more immediately noticed when it comes to children. But I mean, really, when you look back at the fermentation of just even soy specifically, you see things like natto canese and tempeh and other methods, of preservation. You grow this massive crop, and now we need to preserve it from spoiling. So fermentation becomes a real strong go-to. But then also for the digestibility, for really converting the proteins into peptides and amino acids and things like that so that your body can actually use them. And when you are getting these, proteins down to peptides and amino acids, you're getting them in more bioavailable and anti-inflammatory and antioxidant forms that again help to promote this really strong gut flora, and that in turn helps you to digest what other things are coming in. So as you do have a good diet, you assimilate those nutrients a lot more efficiently. And again, that kind of goes right back to that study, several studies we did on the cancer cachexia, because their body just stops absorbing nutrition. And when you can kind of restart that, good things happen, which again and like we've talked about, was it can be better mood, anxiety, PTSD, depression, things like that. As you get the gut in order, a lot of those things can be a lot easier to manage or even subside, because there is such a big connection between how how those things process in the gut to how that affects your brain.
Okay. I think that there's a lot to this, and a lot of people back even 15 years ago, they didn't think we had something called leaky gut. They thought it was just a myth that the gut was this loose cellular structure and they were leaking proteins out into the body, and this was causing the inflammation. So I know that if you have a leaky gut, you have a leaky brain. The biomes kind of share information and they share what's going on. So what have you found as far as mental wellness? I know with the PTSD study, you found some phenomenal things happening, but maybe because this is the Brain Fitness Podcast, let's talk just a little bit more about the brain.
Yeah, so when it comes to the brain specifically, some of the things that were noted in the PTSD study, just to really be able to document it, were things like the neuroendocrine modulation to help rebalance the steroidal hormone cascade that happens. So by lowering precursors like cholesterol and DHEA while raising some of the more downstream hormones like testosterone and estradiol, the symptoms or the results would be like better sleep, improved mood regulation, and then you kind of get into I touched on a little bit before about the neuroinflammation, something that's able to cross the blood-brain barrier. Again, not a lot of things can, and so being able to reduce those pro-inflammatory cytokines, specifically, there's several that are implicated with neuroinflammation, PTSD, things like that, and then lowering the systemic inflammation in the body. That really adds up to brain resilience, better cognitive function, and there's a lot of longevity implications as well. So by having the fermentation process that we have, it makes things bioavailable on a level that isn't necessarily seen very often. I mean, so having things that are able to actually get to the cells. Another thing I don't know if I really mentioned yet was the nitrogen aspect of how nitrogen will bind to the things like the isoflavones, the saponins, and things like that. And by binding, your body needs the nitrogen. It takes it in, and it becomes this like Trojan horse, if you will, by bringing in the nitrogen, you're also bringing in those other compounds, again, improving the body's ability to assimilate the nutrition. So when it comes to things like mood or anxiety or things like that, and then even, kind of touching in hormonal transition periods, things like menopause. I think soy has been talked about for decades when it comes to things like menopause, but it really is important to get a good form of it. That really kind of goes to the isoflavones. But even there's just studies linked to neuroprotective effects, cognitive performance. I mean, there's just a number of different benefits that you see when you look at how even specifically just the isoflavones in soy affect the body when they are in a bioavailable state.
Right. And I want people to understand you don't have to have some of these chronic disorders to use the product. I mean, when you think about biohackers and health optimizers, what they do is they want to have that 1-2% improvement. So a lot of athletes, a lot of people who want to have that master reset, I guess, in their body to keep them at their peak performance, they're using this as well, correct?
Yeah, we got guys. Ben Greenfield did a video on it. He's probably one of the biggest biohackers out there, it seems like. But we have a CrossFit, number of CrossFit people who, we had a team go to nationals. What was that, last year, I believe? They're using it, one, for the muscle protein synthesis. But again, if they can just get that little edge of how they recover, so they can train harder, they can think clearer, all those things. And usually they're just doing, 1, maybe 2 ounces a day. But I got everything from baseball players to MMA fighters to hockey players. I mean, it's just from when it comes to elite level athletics, it really is a pretty cool thing you can add in, especially when you're training. You need to recover faster. You need to be thinking clearer, things like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. And we'll have links below at the show notes. If you're driving and listening to this podcast, you can just go back to your computer where you watch this video or listen to this audio, and then there will be links to purchase the product. But we have a lot of doctors using BrainTap, of course, out there in the world. We have over 3,000 clinics doing it. And we're always talking about the gut-brain connection. And, these are doctors that could be like Hippocrates. They're seeing patients on a database. They see the ones that are, in need of this. What is your program for a doctor?
Yeah, so we have a couple. So if you go to our website, Healan951.com, there's a couple of applications. Scroll all the way to the footer. There is a distributor and an affiliate application. So something like a Hippocrates, they're a distributor. They buy the product, and if there are any questions on the front end of is this right to bring on my practice, minimum order quantities, things like that, feel free to email me. It's just Jim, Jim, at Healan, Haelan 951.com. I'm always open to answering any questions, or just go ahead and fill out one of those applications. I'll see it come through, and usually I reach out on all of those as well, just to touch base, because it's a unique product, and we have developed some specific guides for bringing it on for practitioner use to be able to kind of identify, what might be a good amount to take for a specific thing. So a couple of options.
So they can reach out to you, they can get set up, and they can start sharing this powerful strategy. I mean, nutrition is important. I always tell people, for brain health, you can't outthink a bad diet. So if you can't metabolize, digest, and use the food you're consuming, they need to get their gut right, correct?
Yeah.
So
I always say too, you can't out supplement a bad diet either. So that's right. I think a lot of the tendency.
Yes, for sure. So what if I forgot to ask you about the product that you get asked all the time, or what would you like to reinforce so that the listeners understand a little bit better how this product works and why it's really one of those kind of miracle products that most people don't even know exist? But when I found out about it, and I believe a lot in what Hippocrates does, they're kind of the world leaders. And I was recommended this for Cynthia, and I think that, and I'm taking it as well. So I think that this is something that really everyone should be doing. They should be adding fermented foods, but this is a product that can be delivered right to their home. They can have it there. after it's open, it has to be refrigerated, but anything else you want to reinforce or tell them about the product?
Well, I think one of the big caveats we always have to mention is the taste. So I don't know that we really touched on it yet. That's usually people's kind of first line feedback. It has a very unique taste. I remember when I first started drinking it, it took me about a week to get used to it. It's very unique. It is definitely a fermented soybean drink. As you can imagine, that is not, there's no flavorings, there's no additives. However, I do suggest to people there are a lot of things you can do. You can add it into like a greens drink or something like that, or some people like to add other natural like monk fruit or stevia or things like that. But that is one thing to think about. It's one of those very unique tasting products.
Yeah, I think that most people don't understand that this is something that if you're going to add something to your product or your product line, if you're working with weight loss, you're working with these autoimmune disorders, all of in brain health, you have to connect somehow to the gut. Yeah. And I think that if you don't have a product like this, which I don't know of any product like this exactly, I know you can do fermented foods, but this is one that has been proven in science. They've been using it in some of the world's leading rehabilitation centers for health rehabilitation and things like this. So this is a product I'm going to encourage everyone to go out, check out, look at. We're going to have the links below. So if you want to try the product, you want to go learn about it, we'll have those links there. Jim is available, like he said. We'll put his phone number in the show notes if you're a doctor and you want to set your clinic up to be able to have this available as a benefit to your patients or clients. I think it's great. And Jim, I want to thank you. We got this done. I know we tried to do it before and we got some construction at your place. We just couldn't do it, but I'm glad that we got it done now. We're going to get this out to the world. And remember, we're out on a mission to better 1 billion brains. And that's not just the brain between your ears. We have the gut brain, we have the heart brain. We need to kind of organize and harmonize all of these brains so that we have total health and vitality, not just living, but thriving. And so if you want to thrive, this is one of the products that I recommend. It's very easy to take. And even though he's talking about the taste being bad, I've been doing this since the 70s and I've had some really bad tasting stuff. I didn't think it was bad at all.
Oh, good.
My wife, who usually, can't hardly drink anything, she found that it was easy. They gave her a little method of doing some apple cider vinegar beforehand, just a little bit of that. And then she does the product and it works like a charm. And if she can do it, I think anybody can do that. So it's one of those things that it's worth the time, energy, and effort to do it, even if you just start with a couple of bottles to see how your health is going to improve. Because she started feeling it like right away, and she had low energy. I mean, when I was talking to you about her, there's something going on where it's almost like somebody pulled the plug after 4 hours of being awake, and that's not happening anymore. She's really getting back to her true self and having more joy in her life. And, we run a business too, so, that takes the energy out of it. So I'm going to encourage everybody to do your research. The best research is find out if it's for you, order it, use it, track your results, and I'm sure you're going to continue to use it because it's one of those products that it's a main staple. It's something, like we said, every meal should have some kind of fermented food. If we could do that, a lot of times it doesn't happen, of course, if you're traveling or doing things. So it's one of those things. So Jim, thanks for being on the Brain Fitness Podcast, sharing your knowledge, your wisdom, and bringing this product to the market and making it available to end users as well as doctors.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay. So everyone listening up to this point, if you're listening, we're out to better 1 billion brains and it's your brain we're talking about. So if you know anyone else that's struggling with energy efficiency or going through some kind of health crisis, this could be a solution for them. So please share this podcast, get it to them, let them make their own decision because this is something that is personal to every person. And it's one of those things that once you get your gut right, everything else seems to line up and start to work better. So I'm going to encourage you to look at that. Please like and share this video and stay tuned to the next Brain Fitness Podcast where we bring you things to do with nutrition, to do with movement, to do with actually brain fitness as far as like brain tap technologies, other technologies that work to enhance brain function. So thanks for being part of Brain Tap Nation. We look forward to seeing you on the next call. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on our mission to better 1 billion brains. Follow at Dr. Patrick Porter on social media for updates, and remember to practice brain fitness every day.